Have you ever really tried to wrap your head around how taxes actually work? You know, if you forget all the complicated charts and the economic jargon for a second? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're going to unpack this huge idea about money, government, and taxes, all through a simple story about two people at an all-you-can-eat buffet. So let's grab a
Okay, so picture the scene. It's a place we've all been, right? A classic American buffet. You've got the steam tables, the carving stations, the promise of just endless plates of food. But believe it or not, hidden inside this whole setup is a really powerful way to understand the fiscal system of an entire country. So the big question is, what on earth does a buffet have to do with your taxes?
All right, let's meet our two diners. We'll call them Hank and Sarah. They've just paid their money to get in, and right away you can see they have completely different ideas about value when they see another customer just loading up his plate.
So Hank sees this guy piling his plate sky high and he thinks, yeah, that's how you do it. For him, that flat fee is like a challenge. You know, value means you take as much as you can possibly carry. The more you stack on that plate, the more you've kind of won the game. And let's be honest, a lot of us have thought that way at some point. But Sarah, she sees something totally different. She's not looking at one person's win. She sees the bigger picture. And that picture is just waste. She gets that all you can eat doesn't mean all you can possibly take. She's thinking about the health of the entire system, not just what's on one person's plate.
And right here, Sarah asks the first big question that kind of flips the whole thing on its head. She asks Hank, did that guy's $12 actually cook the meal? And when you think about it, no, of course not. The buffet had to buy all that food, prep it, cook it. All of that happened before a single customer even walked through the door. The value was already there. So the real action in our story, the central conflict, it all kicks off over at the beef carving station. This is where a simple little rule, one that's designed to keep things running smoothly, just smacks right into Hank's idea of what he paid for. When the server gives him just one slice of beef per trip, Hank is furious. I mean, he feels totally cheated. He's thinking, I paid my money, I'm entitled to as much beef as I want right now. To him, this isn't some reasonable rule, it's straight up robbery. It's an unfair restriction on what he's owed. And right in the middle of his rant, Sarah cuts through all that anger with another one of her deceptively simple questions. She's not even arguing about whether it's fair, she's questioning the very nature of the deal. She's asking, Hank, did your money really buy the beef itself, or did it buy you something else? Sarah's logic here is absolutely key. She points out that the buffet doesn't have a food shortage. It has a distribution problem. You've got some people hoarding food they'll never eat, while other folks are still waiting for a turn. That one-slice rule isn't about rationing because there's not enough food. It's about making sure the food circulates fairly and preventing the whole system from getting gummed up by waste. And this right here gets to the absolute heart of the matter. If Hank's entrance fee didn't pay for the meal that was already sitting there, cooked and ready, then what was it for? What is its actual job in this little buffet economy? The sequence of events is everything. Look, the buffet spends its money first. It creates the entire meal on its own dime. Only then do customers like Hank show up and pay their fee. So that fee isn't paying them back for the food, it's the thing that resets the system for the next day. It pays for the busboys, the dishwashers, the cleanup, all the maintenance. So here's the crucial point. The meal exists before you pay. You pay to get access to the system. And your fee? Its main job is to help clear away the waste, the used plates, the leftover food, so that the whole operation can keep going tomorrow. It's all about sustainability, not about initial funding. And here it is. This is the pivot. This is the aha moment where Sarah connects all the dots, and the logic of this simple buffet gets scaled up to explain the fiscal operations of an entire country. See, this isn't just a fun little story. It's a model for a much bigger economic reality. So first, let's get the roles straight. The buffet owner is the creator. They're the ones who take the risk, spend their money, and produce all the value, the meal, up front. In this little economy, they are the source of the goods. Now, in parallel, a government that issues its own currency, like the US government, is the creator of that money. According to this model, it spends that money into existence first to do things like build roads, fund schools, provide services. That spending is what creates the value long before any taxes are collected. This slide just lays the comparison out, plain and simple. The pre-made meal, that represents all the government spending that's already happened. The entrance fee you pay, well, those are your taxes. And the wasted food left on the plates, That's the really interesting part. That's like the excess money in the economy that needs to be cleared out to prevent problems, like inflation, which makes it harder for everyone to get what they need. So let's really focus on that last part for a second, clearing the plates. Because according to this whole model, this is the real and maybe the most misunderstood function of taxes. It's not about funding the government from scratch. It's about maintaining the health of the economy that the government has already set in motion.
And this is Sarah's brilliant reframing of the whole debate. Just think about that for a second. If the government has already created and spent the money into the economy, then taxes aren't taking something from you to pay for things. They're just the tool used to clear away the leftovers from the economic meal we've all been enjoying, which keeps the system stable and working for everybody.
And just like that, it clicks for Hank. That one slice rule, the thing he thought was an act of theft, was actually an act of preservation. The server wasn't his enemy. She was the guardian of the buffet's future, making sure there would still be beef for everyone, including him when he went back for a second trip.
And as soon as Hank understands the logic, his behavior changes, right? He stops fighting against the system and starts working with it. And that's the key. That's what makes the whole thing function for everyone.
His decision to just get up and go get another slice, it seems like a small thing, but it signals this huge shift in his thinking. He accepts the rule now because he gets its purpose. He knows he can go back as many times as he wants because the system is designed to be sustainable, not just a one-time smash and grab. Okay, but there's one last really critical point we have to address, because this is where the analogy gets super important. This whole model is about money, not about actual physical stuff. So what happens if the buffet runs out of actual beef? Sarah's final point just clarifies everything. A government that issues its own currency can't run out of the money it creates any more than an airline can run out of frequent flyer miles. But, and this is a big but, it can absolutely face a shortage of real things to buy with that money, like beef or steel or labor. The real limit on our economy isn't the number of dollars, but the real-world resources and people we have to do the work. And that's really the powerful idea at the very heart of this story. This simple buffet gives us a totally different framework for thinking about our economy. It shifts the most important question away from how are we going to pay for things and toward a new one. Do we have the real resources, the labor, and the capacity to get it done? And what's the best way to manage the system we've created? If you can understand the buffet, you might just see the whole country in a brand new light.